Happy Money Monday, y'all. It's a rare milesless Money Monday. I think the first ever.
I know. I think this is the only one he's ever missed.
So yeah, we'll be hanging out here for a little bit here. If you're watching the replay on my channel, make sure you're signed up for the free training on Wednesday. Gonna be a blast. Got these boys hanging out for a little while. Classic little Money Monday stream. So let us know what we can help you out with.
Miles is enjoying the California sun.
California, yeah.
Yeah, I saw he was getting some in and out there too.
You have to.
That looked good.
Do you guys go to In and Out in Vegas?
Yeah, always. That's the only time I really go. Yeah.
I've never thought In and Out is as good as people make it out to be, but I respect it.
I mean, I do think it's the best of like those like burger places, like Shake Shack.
Oh, that's a very hot take.
What do you think is
very
the best?
Hot take?
I think it's
we might need some chat input here too, but I think it's either Five Guys or Shake Shack.
Five Guys is so greasy though.
Five Guys is so good. I live above a Five Guys. It's
that's dangerous.
I know. There's a Shake Shack right down the road too. Yeah, like it's in my building. Yeah, basically.
What up, y'all? What up, Dustin? What up, Manu? Yeah, that's fire. Sweet. Let us know what we can help you guys out with. I'm gonna drop the link in the Discord here as well.
And Warner, that training you guys have been doing on Wednesdays, you guys share, like you're sharing stuff that you don't normally share, right? Like on YouTube and on Twitter.
Yeah, you're helping me do my job here, Corey.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm
no, we do a lot of diving into like Keep a Product Finder and stuff that we don't really put on YouTube too much.
Nice,
super fun stuff. It's also just fun to see people pop off. Like, love putting people on like tremendous game.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Golden Spiral said, never had Shake Shack. Five Guys is shit. No, it's not the case. Five Guys is really good. Shake Shack's good. I mean, I think Shake Shack and Five Guys are similar. In and Out, I mean, it's kind of all like, I don't know. It's hard to say one is like shoulders above the other, but I think In and Out's.
Are we missing one? I feel like there's a fourth.
I feel like of those kinds of places, it's like Shake Shack, Five Guys,
In and Out,
and then
I feel like there's a fourth that we're missing.
Oh, no? David said come to Texas. Like people put Whataburger in that category. I feel like, yeah,
I've never had that one.
Change your life. Whataburger is good. It is good.
We had that in my college town in the South. What up, Chris? How do I get one of you guys to review potential leads you found? If you want to drop it in chat, we like looking at them live, that kind of stuff. If it's something you want to keep private, you can shoot me a DM on Discord. Happy to take a look for you.
That's a strong statement. Whataburger will change your life.
It's good. I mean, it's definitely good.
Nah, David, the barbecue in Texas will change your life.
It's Whataburger is one of those where you have to be like a little intoxicated, so it's hard to make a habit out of that. It's hard to make a habit.
I think the only times I've had Whataburger, it's been out.
Wait, where are they? They're not on the East Coast,
South,
are they?
The South.
Texas, yeah, Texas, and like I think Arizona around that area. Cookout, yeah, that's true. If you guys had Cookout, I could know. We've got Cookout's the. I wouldn't put Cookout in like the Five Guys. You've never heard of Cookout? That's like the East Coast's In and Out, basically. Cookout is so good. But the only reason I didn't
heavy on the burger talk today. Heavy. It's Burger
Monday.
That's
what happens with Miles
Rename the stream.
Miles is here for one stream.
Memorial Day sales are ripping though, y'all. For whatever reason, they started the Memorial Day sales on like last Saturday or something. Like,
dude, that's been a theme for the past like 8 months.
I know. I don't remember May being this good.
I know. It's like every holiday we've been talking about. Oh, it's like they're already starting the sales. It happened with Black Friday. It happened with Cyber Monday. It happened with. Well, I guess those are the same thing. But like every sale, they're just like jump starting a week or two earlier.
Yeah, I feel like that's just kind of every year, right? I mean, even like think about Black Friday. 5 or 6 years ago, I feel like the Black Friday sales didn't start until actual Black Friday, and now like stores are opening on Thanksgiving Day or even like Thanksgiving morning.
Dude, that was the best though. Like you'd wake up or you'd stay up till midnight with the fam. You'd go drive and you get your $20 toaster or whatever it was. Like
Dude, that used to be a family tradition with me and my parents. We'd like because back in the day it started at like 6 a.m. and so you'd have to get up and go to the stores at like 3 or 4, and it was like it was like fun for the band. And then they changed it to like 12,
Yeah,
And
my
then
first year doing RA, it was like that still. I remember it was like 10 p.m. or something. I went out, I bought like a guide in like 2018. It was like, this is what you should buy. It resells for more on Amazon. I didn't know you could, and I didn't know like ungating or anything. So I bought a bunch of stuff I was gated in. I thought I was just stuck with it. Like that was the good error right there. Let's see. How do I deal with lost inventory due to discrepancies? Yeah, Kieran, just go on like the shipment. You'll click like the details, like you'll click into the details on it, and then upload your invoices for whatever you bought. Just as long as like the info matches your account, you'll get reimbursed for it.
what rank should I stay in DVDs? So it's all going to be relative to the listing, right? And this is the same scenario, the same statement holds true for every category. It's how much does that listing move with reference to how many people are on the listing. For example, right? If something's listed, something's ranked 150,000 in clothing, right? It sells X amount of times based on SellerAmp. That's fine, but you have to compare that and take that with respect to how many sellers, right? If something's 150K rank and it has 50 sellers, it's probably a lot less interesting than something that's ranked 150K and has 2. So it's never a one part equation, right? It's how fast does it sell? Is there any skewing factors? Are there any variations, buy box dominance, that sort of thing, right? How many competitive sellers are there? And then you start to like frame the conversation with that respect, right? And then you peel back the layers of the onion and you get closer to some sort of estimation in terms of like how good is a listing for you in that scenario at that point in time.
Bang.
I totally agree with
That's
that.
a good one for you, Corey. How do you counter and negotiate with suppliers who say they don't deal with Amazon sellers or resellers?
Yeah, so the first question you always want to ask is why. And typically 90+% of the time, it's going to be because they either had a poor experience with an Amazon seller previously, or Amazon sellers being Amazon sellers, we just have a bad name, right? Amazon sellers are notoriously poor communicators. They don't place very big orders. They don't get back to people on time. They're just not very good to work with. So my response typically is, I understand you guys don't want to work with Amazon sellers. That's fine. Most of them are clueless. But actually, I'm sitting here looking at a potential purchase order that we're ready to place today, right? Assuming you've done your research beforehand and you know what you want to buy. And you kind of frame the conversation around, well, what is it that we need to do to get this order pushed through today? Because listen, if you don't want to work with me just because I sell on Amazon, that's fine. But I'm just going to take this purchase order down the street to your biggest
My
competitor.
money's still green, brother.
Yeah, it's like, listen, whatever. Like, that's when you kind of flip it on them. It's like, okay, it's kind of your problem if you don't want to work with me because I'm a serious buyer.
Yeah. I mean, it all comes down to just like disassociating. I mean, because Amazon sellers have earned a certain reputation over the years, right? Like it or not, like it's been earned by a lot of people that don't necessarily take it as seriously as others, right? So you just have to like disassociate yourself with the common misconceptions that you kind of laid forward, but you have to just build up trust. What happened to George? Did he have surgery?
Yeah, he got neutered 4 days ago. So he's down bad. He's down really bad.
No throwing that bull today.
No, he's got that. I mean, the cone on his head is so massive. He's been bumping in, and it's so annoying because we were just walking around the apartment. He's walking right behind me, but the cone is so big. It like bumps into the back of your shin, and it's like I can't even walk around without him just like.
He just looks so demoralized back there.
He is. George, buddy. Yeah, he doesn't even.
Yeah, he's toast.
What up, Drew? What up, Millie? How y'all doing?
And again, kind of finishing that last point, though, a lot of it is just really doing your due diligence beforehand, having a particular SKU, having a set of ASINs, set of products that you are interested in, know why, and even take it a step further and specific quantities that you would be interested in at given price points, right? Because then you can take it a step further and say, okay, what sorts of quantities do you need me to buy in order to get close to the certain prices that we want, right? And that kind of puts a whole lot of leverage in your pocket.
Totally. Yep. That's a great way to get discounts too, right? It's like, well, if the supplier, if they do agree to work with you as an Amazon seller, great. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to have good pricing. So if you get back a quote or you get pricing back and it's just not what you need to make it work, say, listen, thanks for the quote, but at the end of the day, I need to be at X price. So how many units do I need to buy to get to X price? And the good thing about that line is if it's in any way, shape, or form within their power to give you that price, they're going to tell you, oh, you need to buy, it might be 100 units, it might be 10,000 units, but if they can make it work, they'll tell you. And if the price that you need is just totally out of the question, they're going to say, like, listen, it's not going to work, right? So that kind of gets all the cards on the table and helps get that answer.
And it gives you leverage, right? Because then you have the authority to say yes or no to that quantity.
Right.
Because you have all the information. If they tell you 1,000 units and you look at the listings and you're only comfortable buying 200, well, you still have that authority to say no. But you're able to say no, and that's the big thing.
Yep.
For sure.
Good question here. So somebody said, how long do you wait until you lower the price of a product that's tanked? And I'm sure that everybody's going to have a different answer here. But me personally, we like to wait around, and we might have a shorter time frame than most. But, if a product is sitting below our minimum for, let's say, 2 weeks, then we're going to take a pretty hard look at that product and see what we need to do, right? It could be kind of like a freak incident where, hey, Amazon jumped on the listing. They're way below our minimum, but they don't have much inventory and they're going to sell out. So we're going to continue to hold our price high. But there's other situations where we look at the listing and all of a sudden 10 new sellers jumped on, prices tanked, and we could wait it out to make a higher price, but it might be, 2 or 3 months before that happens. I'd rather just sell at break even or a small loss, get my money back within the next couple of weeks to then redeploy it instead of waiting weeks or months to maybe make a more profit. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a like after a while, it's a relatively simple decision. Like, is there a realistic reason why the price should go back up? Yes or no? That's either going to be seasonality or price scarcity, like the price you got it at. If either of those are not true, then just get your money back, reinvest in something that's way better.
And the other thing is, Michael, I'm assuming you're asking that from sort of like a newer perspective, which gives you even more reason to be aggressive, right? It gives you less leverage to wait it out, right? Corey answered that from a perspective of, 2 weeks is still pretty short, right? But others may wait even longer, but they may have 200 different nations, hundreds of thousands of equity in the business. But if your business is only worth $1,000 and you have $400 worth of that tied up in that product, then you have less luxury to be able to wait it out, right? You have to be, especially when you're newer, as diversified, as thin, as wide as possible, or as shallow, as wide as possible, because you're testing, you're experimenting, and then double down when things work.
Yep. Did you guys see Chris's comment?
Yeah.
Very true, Chris. Very true. For beginner to an RA, how sustainable is the clearance section, especially if clearance item are store specific? Good question, Max. You're never going to have consistency buying from the clearance. That's kind of like the nature of the beast, right? You'll have consistency in that there's almost always something there, but it's always going to be different. So hit the clearances, hit the outlets, all that kind of stuff as much as possible. But really, you want to be trying to do as much online as possible as you start growing.
Technically, George could have even more fun than someone without consequences.
That is true. So, and somebody's asked us a couple of times. I just want to address it. So they said, hey, can we get a supplier list? So let me give you, I guess, some insight on why you shouldn't be asking that question. One, if somebody just gives you a list of suppliers, they're going to be picked through. They're going to be completely worthless. And they've probably been contacted by 1,000 Amazon sellers at this point. Two, the reason why you don't see me or Garrett or anybody that's reputable selling like a leads list or a supplier list is because nobody's going to give away their best suppliers, right? I spent months and in multiple cases years building relationships with my suppliers. So for me to just hand that off to somebody, even if I did give you a list of my suppliers, it would be worthless to you because you're not going to get the pricing that I get. And you're probably not even going to be able to land the account because it took, some of these suppliers took me.
We can test it though, Corey. You can give me all your suppliers.
I mean, I'd rather give them to you.
We can test it. I won't have the same pricing, right?
In the YouTube comments, but yeah, but that's the moral of the story, right? Like the best suppliers are ones you're gonna have to find yourself and put in the work to land.
And
for sure,
wholesale is all a relationship thing, right? Corey can text all of his sales reps. They'll have his number saved. They'll know him by name, right? Same with me. And that's kind of how it works, right? You could have that information, send that same text, and you're a nobody, right? You don't have the leverage. You don't have the reputability, the trust that people have built up with months and years placing orders.
Yep.
You want to start flipping used books, add inventories. I better focus on. I mean, Dustin, you could do a little bit of that type of stuff, but I know you're taking stuff too seriously to do too much of that long term. If you're already driving to a store and you see a thrift store along the way, and you want to just pop in and check the textbooks, or you're out yard sailing with the girlfriend or whatever one day, check whatever they're selling. But I probably wouldn't make a habit out of flipping used books unless you're super capital limited, Dustin.
After ungating Nike, Adidas, Puma, what would be the next ungating group? So I would just ungate based on your sourcing. That's a good starting point. Start reverse sourcing on some of those leads and listings that you've already been selling, and then use your sourcing, use your activity to fuel ungates, right? Because in 2024, we have the luxury to pretty much get ungated in anything we want. And you're not really going to be buying less than, especially if you're ungated with that. I'm assuming you have some traction. You're probably not going to be buying less than 10 units anyways, right? So just use your activity, use your sourcing, use your productivity to then ungate when it's necessary, right? You find a good Crayola lead, buy 10, buy 15, use that as your test order, and then iterate from there. There are going to be few listings once you have some traction, once you have some leverage in the business, that you're going to be wanting to buy less than 10. It's just, if you're doing the right things, you should be wanting and looking to buy more than 10.
Yeah. Curious the OA wholesale split. I'm probably more OA than I've been in a minute. I'm probably like 98% OA. There's like 2 wholesale products we
You
have.
just placed a fat wholesale order though. I saw on Twitter, right?
Did you put down that like 350 with Joe?
Yeah, that he finalized that I think like yesterday. So that was a group buy on behalf of like I think 5 or 6 people inside the mastermind. But yeah, that was a big one for like one SKU too, and it's going end of life, which is cool. So that's an opportunity.
Yeah. I think Joe told me what those are. Those are fire.
yeah.
That's gonna be fire.
Good deal there.
Should you get a virtual address for the LLC, or can you use your home? I would talk to a CPA on that kind of stuff, man. But probably, yeah. But talk to a CPA to get your legit answer. Do you need an LLC to start wholesale? Corey, what are the like couple documents, that kind of thing that they need if they want to do wholesale?
Yeah. So, and preface this by saying like, we're not advisors here. So depending on your situation, this might not be the best fit for you. But for me, before I started calling suppliers, I just made sure I had my LLC set up. I had my EIN number, which is basically the social security number for your business, right? Think of it that way. And having an EIN allows you to establish a business bank account. So really your LLC, your EIN number, business bank account, and then some sort of email address that's not a Gmail, right? So tied to a domain. So Corey@mycompany.com. Once you have those things in place, you can start contacting suppliers right away. And I would even start contacting suppliers before you have all that stuff in place. Just get the ball rolling. Like, don't wait for anything.
Yeah. You'll boost the rates a little bit, but
yep.
To prepare for back to school, what brands should you start ungating? Louise, dive into like a little bit of Keep a Product Finder, maybe. Which, if you don't know how to do that, we'll show you kind of how to use Keep a Product Finder for back to school on the free class on Wednesday. But you want to start building a list of the Crayolas, the Nikes, the Adidas, anything that has lunch boxes, school supplies, or shoes. Those are generally like your best things to be looking out for there. And then as far as like ungating, just ungate with whatever you find profitably. That's like the least, that's the easiest part of the process.
Backpacks gonna be huge too. You can use a text filter to reverse source on backpacks.
Yeah. Throw in. You can also throw in like Crayola brand. Throw in Crayola on the title, so you find like the weird broken Crayola listings, all that kind of stuff. Like, lots to play around with there.
What are the best? What are the best to work with for long-term brands?
So I think they're just saying like, what's the best long-term business model, right? Working directly, like buying directly from brands or buying from distributors. And now it's going to depend on the nature of the relationship, but like generally working directly with the brand is going to be the most long-term, because the buck stops with the brand. Like if you have a relationship with the brand, the owner, the sales rep, whoever, they don't have to answer to anybody, right? Whereas the distributor has to answer to the brand. So if you're trying to build a long-term wholesale business, the most sustainable way to do it is buying directly from manufacturers. That said, buying from distributors is perfectly viable as long as those distributors are legitimate, authorized distributors of those brands. And the more connected you can be with the brand, the more they know who you are, the more they know what you're doing in terms of selling on Amazon, the more long-term that relationship is going to be as well.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like like pretend that they're just like moving their product into the ether or something. Like, where are you selling? Like,
if anything, you kind of want to take because that's just so short-sighted, right? Like that might work for a period of time, and like sure, everybody does that starting out. Like we did that starting out, but at the end of the these days, when I'm talking to a even distributor or brand, regardless of who I'm talking to, I like to get out in front of that conversation. I like to make it very clear. I'm selling on Amazon. This is my plan. This is what we're doing. This is what we do, right? So that way, a week or a month or 2 months down the road, they don't come to me and say, hey, well, how'd this product end up on Amazon? It's like, listen, you know what we were doing from day one. I want to get on the same page with them so that there's no issues with my business model.
It's also huge in terms of like how you play that card, like how you approach it, how you have the conversation, because the verbiage, your tonality, the way you approach it it makes the entire difference, right? If you come, oh, I'm an Amazon seller, well, you pigeonhole yourself as just that, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, if you approach it as a e-com professional, as a retail store, as a distributor, whatever that other synonym is, you are, call it a facade or whatever the case may be, right? You're positioning yourself as a company with way more depth, with way more validity, with way more longevity, and you're not pigeonholing yourself as just an Amazon seller, right? Yes, of course, you use Amazon seller as one platform, as one means to sell, but if the situation provides, if the scenario provides, there are other options. You can also use different countries, right? Amazon US 1, Canada, Mexico. There's ways to play that card that don't seem as inconsequential as just an Amazon seller.
Yep.
Yeah, leveraging the like different marketplaces is an easy one. Like if you talk to the supplier who actually knows their stuff, they're like, I don't know about that, but like,
yeah,
it sounds really fancy to say, oh, we can sell on Amazon Canada and Mexico.
Yeah.
Right. And just call, like, what I like to say is like, we're an e-commerce retailer that just happens to have Amazon as our primary sales channel.
Yeah.
Right. And then this is where your network comes into play. So if you know a bunch of other Amazon sellers, well, then technically you could be a distributor as well, because if you come across a good deal, then any other Amazon seller in your network would be chomping at the bit to buy that deal, right? So technically you have distribution capabilities. So it's like, hey, we're an e-commerce retailer. We specialize in Amazon. We've got a Rolodex of other businesses that we can distribute to. We have international presence on Canada and Mexico. Like, there's so many different ways you can spin it than just being an Amazon seller.
Yep. What social media platform you found the most success in terms of networking, opening up new opportunities? That's a good question. The one that all of you guys watching need to have somewhat of a presence on social media. You don't need to do what we do, like helping people out. Just document what you're doing, right? Because it's going to attract as many other eyeballs who want to make money with you as possible. So, Dustin, just do the platform that you're most comfortable with, and all the rest of you guys, like once a week, once every other day, whatever you're comfortable with. Hey, I got some boxes going out. Hey, I sold $500 today. That's a big win for me, right? You're just showing off what you're doing in public, and then it's gonna bring more eyes to you. Like, hey, let's work together. Or, hey, I found this lead. Like, what have you been working on recently? Like, all that kind of stuff. It's just more fun too. So pick the social media of your choice and stick with it. Like, that's what's gonna keep you most interested.
I mean, there's Amazon sellers hanging out on every platform. Right? Like,
he's been doing like YouTube shorts and like all kinds of stuff. Dustin's been grinding the social media. Y'all got to check him out.
Yeah, if you're better on camera, Instagram. If you're better with writing,
Twitter. Don't put that into the air. They need to be on camera regardless. Any platform, they need to be on camera.
Yeah, that's true.
The cone of shame. What up, Aaliyah?
Yeah, he just looks like he's struggling back there.
He's put himself in timeout over there. He's in.
I know. I know.
George is like, I don't deserve to exist right now.
What up, Joe? Speaking of Joe.
Yeah, I just texted him. I took a screenshot of our private chat.
Yeah, we're trying to finesse over here, Joe. Is it possible to sign up for a seller account with a debit card? I think you have to use a credit card, my man. You'll want to have that anyway for buying inventory. Look at the MX Business Blue Cash. They'll approve pretty much any business that has existed for like a day.
Tony said, Miles happy here right now. He saw some mean comments on his YouTube shorts, and he's taking a moment to collect himself. I got roasted on a YouTube short today by like 10 people because I was talking about how good at marketing the Paul brothers are, and he's riding dick. Like, I'm like, all right, guys, like, chill.
Some of your content is unhinged.
I know. I was just making like it wasn't even like meant to be controversial.
Scams. So yeah.
Yeah, people didn't like that.
As soon as I think I saw it on Instagram is where I saw it. As soon as I saw it, I was like, he's gonna get some.
Oh yeah, the one I did.
Yeah, I saw it on Instagram.
I was like, it got like 250 comments. Like, not even like people like fist fighting in the comments. I was like eating it up.
Gotcha. Oh, Chris said card needs to have Visa or MasterCard logo on it, but it can be a debit. Interesting. I still would get a credit card, my man, but it sounds like you can at least start with that.
How much is the net profit for the product to be worth it? I would say at least, especially if you're newer, bake in at least $3 to $4 worth of profit, because every market's going to oscillate, right? Every market's going to go up and down. And so as a newer seller, when you may not have as much confidence in the future market as, say, someone who's been in there for 3-4 years, you want some room for error, right? So obviously, the more the profit, the larger room for error you have, right? Because if you're only baking in, if you're only making $1.50, even if the margin's really good, right? Even if you're making $1.50, $1.20, well, how small is that margin where that $1.20 becomes 50, becomes 75 cents, because 25 cents, right? So I would say 15% margin, $4 or $5 profit, $3 profit as a minimum, because again, what that grants you is a lot of room for error, a lot of chance to make a mistake. That's not going to kill you, right? Because 15 now becomes 12, 11, 10, and you're still happy. Whereas if your minimum is 10, well, that becomes 3 or 4, and now you're not so happy.
Millie said you opened the LLC with no sales on the 8th, had the blue on the 9th. I thought I was being a little bit facetious with the but no, they'll literally
No, it works.
approve an
Yeah, they'll
LLC
approve
that's a day
anyone.
old. Hell yeah. Wasn't able to do a credit card last year. Yeah. That's why you're back on the good path right now, making life easier for you, making it harder in the short term so that it's way easier in the long run. That's what it's all about.
As a beginner, do you recommend to go straight into setting it up as a business or set up as an individual? Then once you get traction, start looking into the less what am I looking for? Friction into starting, the better, right? You can start as a with your EIN, just get going. You can figure that sort of stuff out later. You just gotta make the first $10,000, $5,000, prove it to yourself that you can do it, and then go from there. If you are the type of person that needs some skin in the game, then maybe you do get the business. Maybe you do set it up officially in the beginning. But whatever is the least friction way to get going, to get that first 10,000, 15, 20,000 in sales, the better.
And if you're just doing arbitrage, just start. Like you don't
That's what
need
I'm
to.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah, like if you're going to start with wholesale, then like yes, technically you've got to set up the entity, you've got to do that stuff beforehand. But if you're just jumping straight into online arbitrage or retail arbitrage, like just start sourcing, buy products, and then you can set up the legal side of it later, right? Get that proof of concept first.
A lot of that stuff you can just figure out. I mean, as weird as it sounds, you can figure out at a later time.
Yeah.
Once you get
The
some
Secretary
traction.
of State websites are pretty easy for the most part.
Yeah. So Bruno said, is there a big difference in inbound shipping costs if you ship 1 box to Amazon or 2 boxes? Let's say it's all the same weight. So yeah, well, in general, the more you ship to Amazon in any given time, the cheaper your shipping cost is going to be per pound, right? So generally, if you're only shipping 1 or 2 boxes and that's the total of the shipment, it's going to be pretty expensive. So you want to make your shipments as big as possible whenever possible. I understand that's not always going to be doable starting out, but like I said, the more you ship at any one time, the cheaper it's going to be.
Yeah, for sure. Brian's asking us earlier, is it normal for Amazon to be holding funds for 3 months? No. Talk to an agent. They make
No.
it true for all seller accounts. That is not true. I don't know who was telling you that at Seller Central, but they will hold like if your account is brand new, they'll hold your funds for a month, which is longer than you'll ever have it held again, and then they'll hold it every 2 weeks. And after a while, you get daily payouts and stuff. But 3 months means that there's probably like maybe like a Section 3, or they want to make you to verify with like the Inform Act, that kind of stuff. Could be why they're holding funds.
So with all the new fees the past couple of months, what do you recommend setting your price per pound for shipping? So like you're talking about what's a good estimate to kind of factor into your costs for shipping on like a dollar per pound basis. So what, 50 cents per pound is probably still standard. I think
it's probably it's like 60 cents for most things, and if it's like shoes, I've been seeing $1 is pretty standard
per pound. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah, and just guys for context, so that's, if you're newer, if you're shipping smaller quantities,
double what it used to be too.
Yeah, that's probably a good place to shoot. Now, when you get to where you're shipping like pallets of inventory at a time, or even up to where you're sending full truckloads, just to kind of paint the picture of what it looks like as you scale, you can get down to not even 10 cents per pound. You're talking like 10 cents per unit, right? Or even less than that per unit for some pretty big shipments once you're sending in full truckload shipments. So It's expensive to start. When you're shipping in more inventory, it gets a lot cheaper.
By the opportunity to buy some back to school items from a distributor, should I take advantage of them even though I've never done wholesale? The min is reasonable and I can do multi SKUs. I mean,
why not? Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
well, I'm just, if it's like, if it sounds to me like it's a good, he's basically saying like, hey, I have a good wholesale opportunity. Should I do it even if I haven't done
it's
wholesale?
just like scaring himself away from the
it's just
wholesale keyword, the tag word.
Yeah. So Max, I mean, what I would do if I was in your situation is just spread out the risk, right? Don't go if they've got you said the minimum is reasonable, but even if it's a reasonable minimum, don't go all in on one product or two products. Try to spread that out over as many different products as possible to really not eliminate your risk, but spread your risk across, a portfolio of products. But it sounds like you got a good opportunity there, so I'd go for it. And then Jane had a question about an issue when inventory goes stranded, and the stranded reason is that there's a listing error. I think we ran into that recently. I don't remember how we resolved it because my team resolved it. Do you guys have any insight there? Like listing error. Can you elaborate on that, Jane? Is that like an error with your actual listing or the listing itself?
It could be a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. That could be a couple of different issues.
Max, the other thing you can do is, especially if there's multiple listings that product may be associated with, you can do FBA and FBM per listing. So especially if it's early, you can send maybe half across all the listings now, and then save half to FBM when it starts to heat up a bit, and you can really start to diversify yourself, right? Because you can really have two different quote unquote like offers on each listing, FBM, FBA.
Yeah, I was thinking it could be those like the same issues that cause the suppressed listings or whatever, like the color's missing or something. You can those resolve themselves, or you can add the color, that kind of thing. I was seeing something about how like if you get the new like search suppressed where it's like you need to fill in the color or something, if you have a picture, or you can ask Amazon to do a bin check on that item, and then they can confirm that data point, because you can't just like type it in if you don't own the brand registry. But apparently that's kind of like a workaround for it. So I'm probably going to test that. I was reading some on that today.
Mark, you can use your social for an EIN to get started.
Yeah, for sure. Business credit card. Yeah, Jamie. MX Biz Blue for the first one, then probably an MX Plum when you're cash flow limited, and then when you have plenty of cash, you just want the most cash back. It's probably Capital One Spark, or there's that new one people are talking about too, the Amazon one, the Business Prime. Have you guys seen that one?
I haven't seen.
I use the Business Link Premier.
Okay. Chase. Yeah, that Chase one's really good too. I need to do some digging on the new Business Prime one. It looks pretty good.
I haven't heard of that. What's the details on that? Do you have any info?
Yeah, it was like 3% back on like a bunch of stuff, so it could be worth looking at.
Wow.
You got the new one from Amazon? Yeah, Pete. What are the details on it? I'm drawing a blank on it. I know it was like better cash back, similar to the Spark though.
So somebody has a SellerAmp question there, Warner. Do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah. What were they? Trying to request 1,000 searches already. Yeah, Zara. So that means you're making money. Yeah, you're on the big boy plan now. So you can grab the annual or whatever if you want to save some money as well. Seems awesome. You pick between 5% on Amazon or 90 days to pay. Ooh, so it's like a Plum, except you can also just randomly change it to get a bunch of cash back on Amazon.
I wonder how often you can switch that, like the reward structure. It has to be like the 5% for a set amount of time before you can switch it back to the 90 days to pay, but either way. Sorry about that.
Oh, he's alive.
He's alive. A friend that wants to help me source for a small percentage for each profitable item he finds is y'all's experience. Is it a good or bad idea, a good way to scale without initial capital? I would just help him out. I mean, I would just have my set. I mean, it's way cheaper to have that same sort of setup with VAs rather than like a domestic person. I would just help him start his own thing, and you guys have that sort of now momentum where two people are at it, building each of their businesses, and you guys are going to grow just as fast. I wouldn't get as complex as trying to give him a percentage of stuff he finds and sells and stuff. I don't think it's worth it.
usually a percentage of sales, a percentage of like that never ever works with a VA or with a domestic person, because think about it. If you're going to give somebody a percentage of profit or a percentage of sales, you've got to factor in like profit versus fees versus operating expenses versus returns. Like that's just
It's not just like coding a SKU and calling it good. Like there's a lot that
Yeah.
goes into it.
Yeah, I would
Pete
just help
said
him
George
start his
is
own
realizing he
business,
lost
and then
something.
now what?
Pete said George is just realizing he lost something.
It's that Corey.
When you're first getting started, what bank did you go? It does not matter, Mark. Whatever you're comfortable with, man. There's a bunch of little things like that you can get like paralysis about that matters 0%. All that matters is talking to Amazon sellers and finding products to sell.
So Jerry made a comment here. He said, established sellers are annoying with price matching. So it's funny because I had a guy DM me like twice in the last week. He's like, hey man, like we're on the same listing, like raise your price back up. It's, you know, everybody's making money at 95 and you're at 87. I'm like, I didn't respond, but in my head, I'm like, dude, I know for a fact I'm getting this product like $6 cheaper than you are. Why the hell would I listen to you? Like we're printing money on this product. Like that's your problem if you're not getting a good enough cost. So yeah, I mean, people aren't gonna like, one, that's illegal, but two, you know, everybody's getting a better, like a cardinal rule of wholesale. Somebody is always, and just Amazon in general, somebody is always getting a better price than you. Keep that in mind. Always.
He also probably could have stopped at 1 and just called it a day.
Right,
because it's illegal.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we get the request pretty often to add a group chat on every ASIN on the SellerAmp, which would just immediately turn into so price fixing.
Imagine if there's like an IM box and in the back of every listing.
Oh,
it
would be bloodbath.
Because it wouldn't be that hard.
So
we could set it up where you could only be in the group chat if you have the ASIN in stock or something. It would be those would be some of the most cursed chats.
Oh, it would be so bad. And over the weekend there was one, like normally if somebody undercuts us or if somebody's like tanking the price, I'm kind of like, you know, like unemotional about it. It's like whatever, that's business. But there is one of our products where somebody's tanking it. I was so pissed this weekend. I was like, I didn't send him a message or anything, but never have I in the past wanted to be like, just reach out to this guy.
I always just blur out the product name on those messages. It's always a good tweet. Yeah.
FTC enters chat.
Pete and Chris making the same joke. That's at the same time. That's what's up. Pete beat me. Yeah. Would you look at a product that isn't selling FBA since January? Yeah. At this point, there's probably no reason why the price is going to go back up. That kind of stuff. It's a while to hold something.
Speaking of great minds, y'all both have the orange yellowish background with the white.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Pete said they use the same AI for it or whatever.
Oh, it's not shocking.
That's good.
Sweet. Y'all want to go good to wrap here? Call it a nice little Money Monday. We can't have the George drop today, I would assume.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't really pick him up.
We'll save him from the
he's on the DL.
George drop.
Yeah, George is on the DL for the next couple of weeks.
That's awesome. Yeah, so make sure you guys are coming to free training on Wednesday. Make sure you guys check out Corey, check out Garrett. They'll both make great videos if you're coming through my channel. Yeah, good to hang out with you guys. Another great Money Monday in the books, and let's get after it this week, fellas.
Yeah,
guys. We'll see y'all next week, same time, same place.